Hi, I'm Jaymie.
Hi, I'm Kelly.
And this is the Body Smart Podcast.
And today we are talking about the best exercises for fat loss.
So what is the best exercise for fat loss, Kelly?
Well, I don't want to dive straight into that because why would I? But I would want to start with why are you looking for the best exercise for fat loss?
Well, most people are going to say they've got a very strong belief that they need to exercise in order to lose weight. That is the belief that people have. I exercise, I go running, I do some cardio, then I'm going to be able to start losing weight. That's the belief that people have.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily true.
No, because we know if you eat too many calories, it doesn't matter how much you exercise, you're still not going to be able to lose weight. And this is where people can get a really big negative association with exercise. It's like, I'm doing all this exercise as a punishment to try and lose weight, and I'm not losing weight. Like, screw exercise. Why should I do it?
Yeah, and actually I think often people feel hungrier when they exercise.
Well, you do. Yeah, you know, your physiology will change and you will feel hungrier after a workout. So if you go and do an exercise session and burn 300-400 calories, you'll probably be like hungry off the back of that and probably eat those 300 or 400 calories, and it's almost like kind of, you know, counteracted in that sense.
And almost that feeling of like, I deserve to eat this food because I've just gone and worked out. So it can, for me, I hate it when people talk about exercising for fat loss because I want them to be able to exercise because of the benefits of, you know, exercise, the fact that it makes you feel great, the fact that it's great for your mental health, the fact that it helps you to become a person who is resilient and that can work through, you know, when things are a little bit uncomfortable and you have to push yourself. The things that it gives you is just insane. And it really shouldn't just come down to, well, I ate a donut, so I need to work out. And that's the kind of relationship it builds, and people get into that real kind of space of feeling like they have to work out because they've eaten a particular food, which is a really unhealthy place to be. Yeah. But also feeling like they have to work out, like you said, because they have to, you know, that's how they lose weight. And it's just not true. No,
it's just not true. And it's, you know, like you said, like for me, like burning calories is not even on the agenda of reasons why I exercise. It's because it makes me feel better. It makes me sleep better. I have more focus. I have more energy. I can think more clearly. I show up as a better person. I feel physically strong, mentally strong. It's got all of these. It's a great way of me de-stressing. Like, not once have I mentioned calories here. Like, burning calories from exercise is like almost the last thing that I'm doing it for. And you could say, well, that's because you're not trying to lose weight, Jay, and yada yada. And yeah, you know, there is that true, but I'm focusing on all the things that exercise can give me in so many other ways other than just losing weight. And I think most people hyper focus on exercising for the weight loss and the calorie burn versus forgetting like all these amazing things that you can get from moving your body on a consistent basis.
And it's really just the tip of the pyramid of, you know, in ways that you are going to, you know, burn calories, it's actually not very effective. You don't really burn a great deal of calories.
Not as many as people think.
No.
Yeah.
So you slog it out in a workout and think, oh, that must have been a bunch. Or you're looking at your activity tracker, which is hugely inaccurate, and then deciding you deserve that donut or 5.
Yeah. I mean, it's still, and it's very like common language that a lot of people will use. So, you know, like about 2 months ago, I went for a hike with a group of people, or a group of friends, and everyone's like, oh, we've worked so hard, we've earned this, like we can eat more. And it's like, I was just trying to explain, like, hey, you've probably burnt, you know, all different amounts for, you know, your size, height, weight, muscle mass, but probably everyone is maybe burnt like 400 to 700 calories on that like 2 hour hike. And then like, if you just like instantly like, oh, I've worked so hard, so I'm gonna have a big roast dinner, and I'm gonna have a dessert, I'm gonna have this, it's like, you just knocked back 2,500 calories because you quote unquote deserve it because you've worked so hard. And it's that, you know, education piece that's maybe missing there sometimes that can throw people out of whack. Like, I'm working so hard and I'm doing all this work in the gym, but then I'm not seeing results, so I'm even gaining weight. And it's like, how does that compute? And it's like you just said, you don't burn as many calories as you might think.
I mean, walking is the epitome of calorie burn, and, you know, just being outside and moving your body, moving in any way burns way more calories than going to the gym for 30 minutes, 60 minutes.
Yeah. So if you want to like try and, it's like what you're doing the majority of the time matters more than the minority of the time. So like you can actively choose to move more and get your steps up, which is going to have a much bigger impact on your overall calorie burn for the day and the week, versus like if you look at the minority time, if you exercise let's say 4 times a week for 60 minutes, that's it's 4 hours over the course of the week. And Sai will probably know this, how many hours in a week? 120 something. Yeah, he'll check. But it's a small amount of time that you're moving more intensely. But then if you just don't do any other movement for the rest of the day or the rest of the week, it just doesn't compound as much as maybe moving your body on a daily basis by getting a walk in or setting a step goal.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to what is the best exercise question, what is the best exercise?
So we got to look at, like, if you want to lose fat, not weight, because there is a difference. When you are looking to lose weight, most people are gonna want to maximize fat loss. So the ways that we can maximize fat loss is to make sure that your body has a reason to hold on to muscle. And the way it will have a reason to hold on to muscle is to make sure you're doing consistent full body resistance training, because your body has a reason now to hold on this. And then when you look at the ratio of weight being lost, it's going to sway much more in the fat loss than weight loss, where it could be a combination of fat and muscle. So doing full body resistance training at least twice a week, even if it's just for 20 to 30 minutes, is a great way for your body to have a reason to hold on to the muscle when you're losing weight. So that's one part of it. Resistance training isn't the most highest calorie burn per session. You're going to burn a lot more calories doing something like cardio. So you can burn a lot more because you're actively moving for, let's say you've got 60 minutes to lift and weights. You're going to probably do a set, rest, maybe sit down,
scroll on your phone,
walk around, and then you'll do another set. And even though your heart rate might like sort of peak when you're doing that, peak and sort of trough, it's not going to be as consistent as maybe being on a treadmill and running for 60 minutes, or a cross trainer and moving for 60 minutes. You've got a much more consistently higher heart rate, so you'll burn more calories. But again, when we kind of zoom out, for most people, if you're exercising 3 to 5 times a week, maybe 5 to 10% of your total calorie burn for the week is coming from exercise. So it's still such a very small percentage. And if you want to, like we said, maximize fat loss over weight loss, you're going to want to make sure you're doing resistance training. And then if you really wanted to ramp up the amount of calories that you could burn, you would look at doing, cardiovascular stuff.
But we're not doing it for the calories.
We're not doing it for the calories. Yes.
We're not doing it for the calories. Yeah. And I always go back to this age-old question of why are people going into, asking about weight loss and fat loss and asking what the best is. Yeah. Because let's be honest, you're not doing the basics consistently. Why are you asking for the best? Because if you're already struggling to do the basics consistently, in what world are you going to be able to consistently do the absolute best optimal thing? And we just get trapped in this mindset all of the time of it has to be the best because I want these big, huge results.
Of course,
and if I don't do the best thing, I'm not going to get those big, huge results. But we know that it doesn't last and people can't keep it up because, like I said, you're not doing the basics consistently and therefore you're not going to do the big stuff consistently.
Yeah.
So my first sort of response to anyone that asks for the best of anything is I just want them to reflect on why that they are asking for the best exercise, because you don't need it. You need to do the basics over and over and over again. Boring, unsexy basics, I'm afraid to say. And you need to be able to do them consistently because it's going to take a deal of time to get the results you want. Usually it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds plus that people want and feel they need to lose. Yeah. That's not going to happen in a really small period of time. So if you can't keep doing the absolute best exercise and the absolute best exercise routine, you're not going to get there.
Definitely. And one of the key traits that's shown for people who lose weight and keep it off is that they continue to exercise. So if you're looking at the best and the most optimal way of moving, maybe you can do that for a short, sustained period of time, but can you do that for the next 50 years of your life? And they're like some of the bigger questions to be asking, because you don't want to fall into that trap of losing weight, gaining weight, losing weight, gaining weight. So finding a strategy where you can find a way to exercise on a consistent basis is fantastic. And I think a lot of people have, a belief that like they should enjoy exercise. And what you'll tend to find, especially if you're new to exercises or exercise in general, like you'll probably dislike it, and it's going to come down to the fact that it's probably because you're not very good at it, and maybe the relationship you've had with exercise in the past has been quite negative. So, you're fighting against two uphill battles there in a lot of ways. And often that means like pushing through that pain, starting to exercise, starting to get more skilled at training, starting to see the results that you want. And then you can start to reinforce more of a positive mindset and belief towards exercise that, hey, like exercise does make me feel good. It does play a role in the life and the goals that I want to live in terms of being a healthier person. And it's going to be a key trait that allows me to lose weight and keep it off. So over time, you can start to build that muscle and change your relationship with exercise.
And let's be honest, when you first start an exercise regime or restart it, having stopped me recently, it hurts.
Oh, it's painful.
DOMS are delayed onset muscle soreness is something.
It's a bitch.
It is a bitch.
Yeah.
And if you go in and do this, not even a tough session. Listen, I did like 15, 12 kilograms squats times 3 on Monday, having been out of the game because I'd been poorly for 2 months. And I was sore.
Yeah.
So you're going to be sore probably for a week.
More like a good couple of weeks, until your body adapts and changes to it. Which again, like, some people are like, oh, I like the feeling of feeling sore. Most people don't. Like, it hurts to sit in the toilet and you're just like, ow. Like, you walk up the stairs, ow. And it's just, you know what I mean? But your body, your muscular skeleton's amazing and it adapts very fast. After like 2 weeks of doing a consistent training plan, that will and should leave. If it's not, it can be a sign that you're not recovering properly from maybe not getting enough sleep, maybe not getting proper nutrition. But that really does pass. And I think just a big part as well is, if you have to look at it like a skill, and you're probably not going to become like the most effective gym goer in like a week or 2 weeks or even 2 months. But
maybe even 2 years.
Hopefully by that point, but it depends how much time and effort and mental energy that you give it. But you are going to take time to progress, to become more efficient. And often when we start to get like good at something, then we start to enjoy it a lot more. But sitting in that place where it sucks for a while and pushing through and staying consistent is difficult. But if you're able to persevere and get past that, you will really start to reap the rewards.
Yeah, for sure. And I always talk about mindset. It's like, I don't want to say it's my thing, because I think it's any good coach's thing, because ultimately the way you decide to act repeatedly is how you get your results, and how you decide to act repeatedly comes down all the time, every single time, to your mindset. And this is really interesting to me because you're talking about that skill set of, people don't enjoy doing things that they're not very good at, and therefore they don't stick with any sort of exercise routine because they're not very good at it to start with, because it's brand new. And I just find this such an interesting topic because, again, it comes down to mindset. And it's really odd because you watch a child trying to figure something out, like their limbs don't work how they expect them to work, and they're like, what is this shape? And you see them like trying to ram this shape into a hole that it doesn't fit in, and they're not having a good, they're finding it really, really tough. But you know what? They enjoy it. They're enjoying that challenge of not being able to do it and figuring it out, and the satisfaction when they do finally figure it out. You just watch it all unfolding, and to see that parallel between children and adults, it just amazes me, because we get stuck in this real fixed mindset, and we get so used to only doing things that we know that we're good at in order to avoid failure, because of any sort, anything that happens in our life. If we've got a parent that praises us for a particular, thing, and we're not looking at the journey, we're only looking at the end result. We're continually teaching that fixed mindset, and that mindset that only enjoys things when they're good at it. So a lot of it comes down to sort of reprogramming the way your brain works and the way that you think, because then ultimately you can enjoy those gym sessions when you're like, I'm really bad at this and it feels like my limbs aren't mine, and you look like a plonker. I recently started CrossFit, and I was a bit like, I am a trainer, but how do you do a snatch? I don't know. But if you had that fixed mindset, you'd be so intimidated by this class of people that seemingly know what they're doing, and you're there like, what's going on? So if you're not sort of approaching exercise with that mindset of, I'm not going to be very good at this because it's a new thing, and of course, why would I be good at this? It's very unlikely to stroll into something and just have that natural talent. But if you can work on your mindset, that you actually enjoy the process. And guess what? You are going to be then in the gym 2 years later because you're going to enjoy the process. And I love the phrase, it never gets easier, because you just then work harder.
Yeah. And you get stronger. It is a really interesting concept when you look at children to adults, because it's only when we become adults we learn to fail. Like, children often just do not give up. You know what I mean? They learn to walk. The examples that you were saying, they just don't give up. It's only when we become adults we learn to give up on things, in essence. And it's just understanding where, like, that mindset is, like, really not serving us, especially if we want to achieve, you know, parts of our health and wellness that are important to us. We have to almost get comfortable with failure. And also, you know, I'm always jealous of beginners. You know, if you ever go and do something for, like, the first time, the rate of progress that you make in the beginning is wild. Like, when you become advanced, like, the rate of progress you make is so minor. It's just like the constant, like, fine tuning of everything. But, like, going from, like, 0 to 50 is so much faster than going from 50 to 100. And, you know, that's a great place. You know, you can see continual big changes and big progress if, you know, you sort of stick through that first beginner phase that feels really uncomfortable and painful. Yeah,
for sure. So we've talked about strength training being sort of the best exercise really for
fat loss. Yeah, if you were looking to lose fat and you want to lose weight, you want to make sure you're doing at least full body resistance training. There is no right or wrong way to exercise. If you don't want to lift weights and you're not bothered and you just want to lose weight and you're doing badminton or tennis or squash or whatever, or just running, like, that's fine. There is no right or wrong way. But if you wanted to optimize for fat loss, you would want to make sure you're giving your body a reason to hold on to that muscle, and that would be doing full body resistance training.
Yeah. So for me, walking is
key. It's the most underrated form of exercise. It really, really is. Like, if you wanted to ramp up your calorie burn more than anything else, set yourself a daily and a weekly step goal. Like, and I say weekly because for you perfectionists out there, you know, if you have an 8 to 10,000 a day step goal, and then, like, life happens, and, you know, I just nearly said I'm just gonna say you kid shit yourself or something else. Just all mad stuff that happens that you just have no control over.
Stuff.
Yeah, just like, I do not need this in my day right now. And it's like, right, well, there's my walk out the window gone, or, you know, whatever else has happened. You know, it's having that mindset of, okay, well, I've done 6,000 steps a day instead of the 8 that I had planned. I'll get them extra 2 on another day this week and hit my step goal for the week. So having a step goal for the week allows for, you know, a little bit of movement and adaptability, because a life does happen to all of us who live very busy, at times unpredictable lives.
Particularly when a child is involved.
Yes, definitely.
So let's break it down a little bit further then. Further than resistance training, specifically, if you're in the gym, what kind of exercises would you benefit from most in terms of optimizing fat loss? So
anyone who's starting out in the gym wants to make sure they're focusing on the big 6. So if you do these 6 exercises, you will train your whole body. And that's going to be a horizontal push and a vertical push. So that's basically just some sort of chest press and shoulder press. You're going to have a vertical pull down, so just pulling anything from above your head, and a horizontal row, which is just pulling anything towards your chest. You can do all of these on barbells, machines, dumbbells. There's lots of different variations. And then for your legs, you're going to want to do some sort of leg press, which could be like a lunge, squat, leg press. And then some sort of hip hinge. So that's going to be like a Romanian deadlift, a deadlift. If you want to do them in a machine, which is more of an isolation exercise, you could do like a lying hamstring curl or seated hamstring curl. That's more of an isolation exercise. But those 6 that I just went through there's lots of variations of the exercises. But if you do all 6, you train your whole body. And it's, you know, people talk about, I don't have enough time. Like, you can do those 6 movements for like 2 to 3 sets per exercise, and you could do that in like 20 minutes in your house with like minimal equipment. So that's a really effective way of training your whole body in a very short space of time. And obviously there's levels to that. You can do it obviously for not just 20 minutes, you can do it for 60 minutes or more, depending on where you're at in your experience level. But really mastering them 6 exercises is because they're compound movements, which means you're moving 2 joints, not one. So if you think about your shoulder press, it's your elbow and your shoulder. You think about your squat, it's your hip and your knee. You're using multiple muscle groups, so you're getting the most bang out of your buck. Like, if I were to just do bicep curls, I'm just using my biceps, which are a smaller muscle on someone's frame versus I do a squat, I'm using my glutes, my quads, my hamstrings, my calves, my core is engaged, possibly even some of my arms are engaged. There's a lot of muscles being worked. So not only are you going to be able to build more muscle, but you're also going to burn more calories.
Yeah. Very fantastic advice, Jaymie Moran. What about then we get a lot of people that want to reduce their tummy fat, for instance. Big bugbear for a lot of ladies.
Yeah.
And they come to you and they're like, I've been doing 1,000 crunches a day and I still have got this fat on my tummy. What kind of advice are you going to give those ladies?
It's not advice that people ever really want to hear, is it? Doing, full body resistance training is important. Training that area definitely, and having some sort of muscle on that area is also important. So when you do strip down and lose the fat, the muscle to fat ratio is maybe there's more muscle there, so you can appear more defined at a higher body fat percentage. Like someone who's got very well developed, say, abs, you would see them at a higher body fat percentage, even if they have more fat around the stomach, because the abs almost push through. So building muscle on that area is important to achieve more of that tone look, but it does just come down to losing overall body fat, and it will eventually come off that area. And the midsection for both men and women just tends to be an area where we store more fat, and especially for any ladies going through perimenopause and menopause, possibly going and looking and getting your blood work done and getting your hormones tested, just to make sure that if your hormones, aren't in alignment, that's a step that you're taking, because that can also have an impact in terms of where you store your body fat.
Yeah, but just to be clear, doing some sit-ups is not going to reduce the fat that's on your tummy, because you can't spot reduce.
You can't do sit-ups or do a core exercise and expect it to come off that area. You just have to persist through, get lean, and if you get truly lean, you will not have as much fat in that area as you would like.
Cool. Anything else you want to cover?
I think just a big one is like finding, if you can find some form of exercise you enjoy, it is important. It's a hack. Like, that's how I look at it. So you'll get the person who goes on the Stairmaster for an hour and they'll be like, I'm so disciplined. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they're just like, look at me. And it's just like, I didn't even wear headphones. Like, yeah, all right, pal. Like, there's that side of it. And then you'll get someone who goes and plays squash, or I think they call it like racquetball. It's a similar one in America. And someone could do that for an hour and burn just as much or as, more calories. And they feel like they've socialized with their friends, they've had a great time, they've laughed, they've been competitive, they probably fell over. It's just like a bunch of, more enjoyable things have happened, and that hour is flown by. You've got one person who feels like they've got to suffer and be disciplined to, go and exercise, and you've got one person who's had a great time and socialized. So as much as doing like full body resistance training is good, find an exercise that you can enjoy more, whether it's a group class, whether it's a certain sport, is like a cheat code of staying consistent with exercise.
I love the way you put that, cheat code.
Yeah.
It's, for me personally, I'm never as lean as when I'm in a netball season. So you train once a week, you play once a week. It's really, really high intensity. US people out there kind of like basketball, but kind of like not. It's the best way to explain it. It's a UK sport, big in Oz as well. But for me, when I'm doing it, my lungs will be on fire. But, I'm there with my teammates and I don't want to let the team down. And we're trying to perform every week and get better together as a squad. And, there are days where I'm like, it's the last thing in the world that I want to do. Yeah. But because it's my team and my people and my girls, I show up to that session and I'm always so happy that I did. Once I'm 10 minutes in, it's like, this is the best thing ever. And if I wasn't here, I'd have serious FOMO. Yeah. But you just don't realize what you're putting into it because it's a team sport. So I'm never as lean as, when I'm in a netball season, because I'm not really, although I'm like working my ass off, I'm not really noticing how much I'm working my ass off. So that's a huge one for me, is if you can find a team sport or a team activity that gives that extra level of accountability that you really enjoy doing, it's a no-brainer, because you're going to be able to, burn those calories if that's what you're looking to do, without really noticing that you're doing it. And
that's like what you were coming back to before, is like, burning calories is the last thing on the agenda of playing a competitive sport. It's, playing with the team, socializing with the team, winning with the team, getting better. There's so many other, just better parts to it than focusing on calories. And I think that can be really intimidating for people who are new to exercise or have not exercised. Like, it's a massive step outside your comfort zone, but I would say the majority of people who are in fitness or health or sports, if you're like a beginner and you go and show up, people are so welcoming. I would like the majority of the time, like they are. And if you have, had like a bad experience, please don't let that like put you off. I kind of say that like, if like one dog bit you, it doesn't mean all dogs are bad.
And dogs are amazing.
Dogs are amazing. You know what I mean? It's just like if you've had like one or two bad experiences with sports or sport teams or anything, please don't let that put you off of trying something new because, I know you absolutely love your netball.
So
and I love, all different types of sports and being competitive. And it's so much more fun. And it's like I said, it's a cheat code to exercising. So, there are going to be parts of exercise where you are just going to have to like suck it up and just do it anyway, and ignore the feelings of not wanting to exercise. That's an important, trait to develop. But if you can find, parts of it where it's just easy to keep exercising because you enjoy what you do, like you've won the game.
And I think the reason you are exercising has a huge impact on how easy it is for you to show up and do it, even when you really can't be asked that day.
Yeah.
So for me, when I'm putting it into my, training, and I say gym training, I predominantly train at home. For me, I'm like, in my head, I'm telling myself I'm putting in the work here so that when I'm on the netball court, it's easier, so that I'm going to get injured less, so that, my teammates who are relying on me are, I'm going to be backing them up and I'm going to be available for the ball because I'm not, hanging off the court like, I can't breathe. So when I'm in that mindset of I'm doing this, I'm putting in this work now so that it's easier later, and that later is really, really important to me. It's so beneficial for the amount of focus and time and energy that I put into that session. Whereas if I was doing that for fat loss, as much as I want that fat loss, it's really hard to keep taking the steps for that reason. If you've got a deeper, more meaningful why, then every time what you call your inner bitch is like, you don't want to do that session, stay on the sofa and eat popcorn. That inner why is going to get you up and get you going and get you doing what you will help you long term. But that moment of gratification, you have to delay it. But delaying it's fine because your why is deep and it means so much to you.
Yeah, it's that really that like extra, like if you really want to maximize motivation, it's having like an extrinsic reason why. Maybe you want to get, fitter for an event or a holiday or stronger or whatever else. But then having those intrinsic reasons why of like, I want to be healthy, I want to be fit, I want to be there for my kids, I want to show up with the best for my sports team. Those deeper, more intrinsic reasons of why you should train. If you can have both of them, like it makes it so much easier to take those steps even when you don't want to or don't feel like it.
Love it. So key takeaways, summaries?
Key takeaways, resistance training is going to help you lose fat, not just weight. Find an exercise or exercise that you enjoy. It is a cheat code to staying consistent. And you're probably not always going to feel motivated to exercise. That inner bitch is going to get very loud at times, but you have to keep showing up anyway. And if you do that for a long enough period of time, it will just become a part of who you are, and it won't matter how loud that voice gets.